All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. Heck. As you can guess for by the title, there's
Oh shit,
Oh,
my bad.
I heard my own voice.
Yep, sorry, that's from my end.
All right. Um, as you can see from the title, spoilers, by the way, Blackfire will return at some point in this book. I've seen it. I had to copy all the pictures over, or I have seen her in this book.
Yeah, how dare you spoil it for everybody? Couldn't you tell that everybody was so invested in this story?
As always, I am joined by my co-host and equivalent master of sass, Caesar,
Yo,
and we are joined by a man with far more commitment than myself, of Wisp. He's up at 4:30 a.m. from Germany.
That is partially true.
The part that you're up or the part that you're in Germany?
I will not disclose that.
But fair enough. All right, so we are on page 80 of 184 pages. So 4 more pages from this point, we will be more than halfway through the book.
okay, so I guess we should give a recap.
Nothing happened.
Touche. Fat girl has a crush on another fat girl. Starfire may or may not be a bad mom. It's not really.
Hard to tell.
Mandy's just kind of a brat.
I just skimmed through this for the first time and I got stuck on page 60 for a moment. That looked just atrocious. It looked like like someone is just about to commit a heinous crime. This is not good. This is not a good character.
So let's get on to the next slide. By the way, so you may notice, Wisp, the sort of like anime style romance flowers.
That's just stamps. That's
So they appear. So whenever the blonde girl is on the screen, they will appear at some point.
uh-huh.
I suppose it's to represent her romantic interest. Anyway.
Well, I guess it's a good thing the other girl just so happens to also be attracted to other women.
Does she have any chemistry with the fat girl?
I think they've shared a total of like 3 scenes together, and mostly it's been that sort of mostly the chemistry level has been that sort of teenage one-sided crush. This girl has given no indications of like actually liking her beyond having romantic interest beyond just, being friends.
This sounds exactly like the personality disorders I always ramble on about on Smutcast.
Oh, she definitely reeks of having a disorder.
Oh yeah, well, it's a self-insert by the author, and we went over that in detail. I think on Sloppy Seconds. I'm not entirely sure anymore on which stream that was. Just looking at this page, I mean the blonde girl, the way she's drawn in this style, even though all the panels look unfinished, as if 1 or 2 steps in the process are missing. She looks okay. But the fat self-insert girl is just horrible. That is not someone you want to sit next to.
Like it
or get to know. Or there's nothing to look beyond the looks. The thing is, when I was in my metal and goth years, the thing is, those are all very, very nice, kind, understanding, empathetic, and intelligent people for the most part. Most of them. Of course, there's rebel that every scene has its rebel, but or rubble. I don't know what the right word is, but that's where the looks are more like the first filter of. If you can't get past the style, then you're probably not worthy of talking to, because you are a highly prejudiced person. But with people like this, the outside reflects the inside, and people catch on to that very quickly. So that there is nothing to discover here that is a better person. And I've noticed this a lot with mostly women of this personality disorder that I believe is present here. Sadly, I had to learn that. It's not a very fun thing.
What kind of personality disorder would you say this is?
Borderline. Full blown borderline. It's so bad that I know at least 2. If I dig in my memories, I probably can say 3 borderline personality girls, and that is a personality disorder that is almost exclusively, like about 80% only present in girls, and 2, if not 3 of them that look exactly like this, almost the same style. Maybe maybe different hair color, but same style of hair, of overdone makeup, and once when I visited a clinic, I had to pass through the borderline unit, and it was just about midday, just about lunch, and so all the patients came down the hall when I was just passing through the staircase that was connecting the different units that were above each other, and all the borderline girls came down the hall, and it looked like clones. They were all massively obese, had very individual hairstyles, piercings, tattoos, but in the end they all looked the same. So in the attempt to all look special, they all adhere to the same style of special, so that they were interchangeable, and they all had the same creepy, hungry, dead-eyed, soulless grin on their faces, and they were waddling, like the whole hall coming down, about a dozen of them. Like that is unreal. It's like, this is the thing I've it's a personal interpretation of mine, but it seems to me like people with these types, especially the cluster B type personality disorders, that is narcissism, borderline, histrionic to a degree, and antisocial, do not have actual personalities. They are only the personality disorder, which is more like a script of behaviors, of basic behaviors and coping mechanisms, and that leaves no room for an actual personality. In order to grow personality, you would have to get rid of the personality disorder, which we do not know how to do. For narcissism, there's some experimental stuff in the making, but let's wait another 30 years on seeing whether that works, and it's probably not very, very fun for the patient. And then you need to have patients to comply to it. They first need to realize they have a problem, and that's, you can imagine, with the whole narcissism thing, that's rather rare. But yeah, and borderliners are marked by one is one common theme is magical thinking. So they're very prone to esoteric ideas. It's also why they believe very quickly in all this gender stuff that was made up in recent years, and spread on Tumblr. It's basically this whole gender rainbow movement is basically a borderline personality disorder movement taking over other actual medical conditions, and posing as them. Then you have all these other three I mentioned. They all have narcissism as a basis. So like every borderline is a narcissist, but not every narcissist is a borderliner, and so on. And other fun things is they're highly irrational. You can't. It's difficult. You can seem to have a rational conversation with them, but that's only temporary. They will switch positions very quickly, or when they get backed into a corner or proven wrong, they will immediately say, "Oh, that's my actual position." So they will switch to yours and then argue against you from your position. It's a bit very odd. They're very likely to have revenge fantasies if they're slighted, like narcissists do. Just with the addition that with their irrationality, that they will plan and follow through at times with revenge plans because of things you did in a dream they had, while being aware it was a dream. This is something that makes them very dangerous. There are a couple other relevant issues to note about them. If you're really interested in that, Dr. Ramani Dovasula on the channel Med Circle made a great summary of the 9 key symptoms of borderline personality in about 20-30 minutes, which is pretty quick for this complex topic. And they are the people who base everything because of their irrationality. So they're actually insane. The medical definition of insanity is being irrational. This is then in contrast to the psychopath who is hyper-rational. Being rational doesn't mean you're correct or right. It just means you're thinking things through without emotions. Borderliners are highly emotional, extremely emotional. They don't have their emotions under control at all, which is why they often are obese or bulimic. And often it switches back and forth between bulimic and obese. That is the eating disorder is basically a coping mechanism. Because while you're eating, your parasympathetic nervous system is in digestion mode, which calms you down. And when you stop eating, whatever trauma these people have is coming back up and they get agitated again. So they eat more. It's a coping mechanism. And what they have to learn in therapy is to use other coping mechanisms, for example, as well as what is called dialectic behavioral therapy, DBT for short, which is what is supposed to teach them to check whether their feelings are appropriate for the situation. Because these are the same people that bring up this argument and this what do you call it? This end of this conversation ender of my facts are feelings. My feelings are fact. That's what they say. My feelings are facts, and you cannot question them. And the point is in therapy, these people have to learn that, well, yes, your feeling is a fact. Yes, because you have that feeling right now. True. But you have to ask yourself and learn rationally to analyze whether you have interpreted the situation correctly, even assessed the situation correctly. And because of that, whether the feeling you have right now is the correct response to the situation. Because if you read the situation wrong, then your feeling is wrong. And they don't want to, of course, normally they don't want to hear that, because they want to dominate with whatever stance they have. They don't want to be questioned, while they are the ones usually gaslighting others and thus causing psychological harm to others. Severe psychological harm to the point of severe psychologically induced PTSD, which is very hard to treat, harder than PTSD you get from wartime. Most of the PTSD you get from wartime, because that is usually just one event most of the time. And the psychologically induced PTSD is usually several events, like a dozen, across many months, sometimes years. Having a borderline mother is just going to be hell on earth since childhood. So I can go on for an hour about this topic. These are just simply not sane people. These are very self-obsessed people, and well, they live in their fantasy world. And this relationship that you describe here, where she's into the blonde girl, but the blonde girl isn't really showing any of that back. But every page, because this is we have to keep in mind, this is a self-insert by the author, who very likely, because Hawk looked up the other works of her, which always has a fat teenage girl as the main character, that is similar to this, and so she had probably a say in how to make these panels. And when every panel has the love flowers, that means that the author already sees something that isn't there in this kind of dialogue, which makes sense because this is the experience of a borderliner. That is the overinterpretation of a situation to her in her favor. When there is no romance here, normal people see that. The borderliner, the self-insert especially, sees this already happening, all the love already coming. It's nonsensical. Furthermore, it's usually cherry blossoms in manga, of course, Japan, that you have and they stand for two things as far as I've seen, and that is one that they're being used for. That is youth and innocence, virginity, as well as the loss of virginity. That's when you have the big love scene. That's usually with an explosion of petals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I talk too long, just tell me. I get on autistic tangents.
You're good. So that's basically your examination of this. Not only the character, but this sort of relationship they've had here. And I'll be honest, I think I'm wrong about that. The flowers being here in every scene they're in together, but usually if they're not present, there is another party in the scene, like her two friends or Mandy's friend.
So it's every scene where it's just the two.
Usually, yes. If they are not in the immediate panel beforehand, they will be there at once the other party has left the scene. But beyond sort of like the interactions of because so little recap. So the reason these two are together like this is because they're supposed to be working on a group project for school. So the initial relationship isn't like they're not friends initially. They haven't ever interacted to any extent by the book's own admission. or I guess the author's own admission at this point, by the text's own admission. But Mandy has a crush on her, and then they get paired for this group project. So Mandy skips a class, goes and gets coffee with Claire is her name, and her friends, and she just has a good time. And then Claire's friends are kind of catty.
Yeah, it's the whole cliche of the outcast is in love with one of the popular girls, and the popular girl is friends with a bunch of jerks.
But Claire apologizes for her friend's behavior, and that's it. That's the extent of their interactions together. But you don't ever feel like Claire is intending to be romantic in any, not intentionally at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But let's read some of Mandy's internal dialogue, shall we?
Yeah, I just last thing I want to add is you showed me some of the art of the artist, of her other works, and they look really good. This comic looks completely unfinished, and so I don't know why that is. It can just be a rushed job, with a small time frame. It could also be that she didn't like to work on this, like the first Jar Jar Binks episode on the Clone Wars, which had not horrible, but less good animation, much less good textures on the environment. I don't think it had much lighting at all, no shadows. Like they toned everything down, like as if nobody wanted to work on the Jar Jar Binks episode. And here you have to draw an atrocious-looking main character all the time, while the stuff the artist usually does is quite beautiful and even intricate for this style. And the story is just horrible. Well, I said I skimmed through this, and it's just, oh god. This is an archetype, and if there is such a thing, this main character is the archetype for borderline personality disorder. I thought that the moment I saw the cover of this comic for the first time, because I know these kinds of girls, and they look all like this. I'm sorry, it is just like that. That is not prejudice. That is, you could say it is experience, post-judice, if there is such a thing. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger is the archetypal bodybuilder type that we all know.
Mm-hmm.
The Herculean I don't know, muscle man, Superman, modern. And this is the archetypal borderline personality disorder. If she would be deified, she would be the goddess of borderline personality disorder, which would be a bad goddess, an evil goddess.
All right, so let's get through some of this.
Okay.
Some of this. I know. I'm sure you want to keep going, Wisp, but
no.
I do want to keep going. All right.
I'm done venting.
So this may be obvious, but I mean, not there's any timeline you have to follow these things or anything, but I've never had a girlfriend. I mean, to be fair, that's not inaccurate. I would be hard pressed to believe that you would have a girlfriend that, I would be hard pressed to believe someone would want to date you, Mandy. I did have this girl who kissed me at camp one summer. I hadn't told anyone my mother was a superhero. It was basically amazing for 4 weeks. The summer ended. My mom came to pick me up. You said she was a lawyer. It isn't a total lie. She does like to work for justice. Why would you pretend? That's so weird. Meanwhile, Starfire, again, shown to be actually a pretty decent mother. She comes and picks her child up from summer camp. I realize that's like the bare minimum, but she knows what she's going to end up having happen. And there were scenes earlier where Starfire actually was like holding birthday parties for Mandy, and she was there, she was present, and she tried to talk her through like going to college, which Mandy doesn't want to do. That's the paper thin conflict that is presumably going to drive the rest of the plot, which hasn't arrived.
And I understand the sentiment of while you're on a vacation thing like this, that you don't want to be defined by you're the kid of the superhero.
Yeah.
I understand that part.
I mean, Mandy's whole character arc, or at least the intention of it, is to not be defined as the child of a superhero. Which, if this were a good book, I would say that's a great character arc. That's
can
not
make
only a great
yeah.
coming of age story, but it's a great sort of example of having a legacy, but not letting that legacy define who you are.
Yeah. You can make a good story out of that, and it is parallel to being the child of a pop star or well-known actor. Like you're the kid of Will Smith, or I don't know, Bill Cosby.
Ooh. Yeah.
I can go both ways.
It's true. Very true. Like having stories about kids in Mandy's position. Good story fodder. The way this is told, though, is not that Starfire is ever absent or ever sort of negligent in sort of that unintentional way, where responsibility and their responsibilities and show scheduling and all that sort of stuff draws them away. It's made very clear that Starfire is at least attempting to be present in Mandy's life. Which, to recap again, the whole conflict of the story is Starfire doesn't know that Mandy doesn't want to go to college,
which already doesn't make little sense, because one of Starfire's powers is to absorb knowledge from touching people, as far as I'm aware.
I guess I know she can learn language from kissing people.
I know that one, but I don't know about the other power, but
okay, then I may overinterpret that then. But she's a very empathetic person, so it doesn't make sense that she wouldn't pick up on her daughter's problems at all. That makes no sense.
She does, but every time Mandy had, like, the few times Starfire has attempted to engage Mandy in that sort of conversation, she stonewalls her. Mandy stonewalls her and doesn't want to talk about it, which is perfectly understandable. It's behavior I engaged in as a teenager. I know that.
Yeah,
for sure.
but a good parent, can break through that. You have to be really good for that. But and I would assume that especially Starfire would be good at that. That's what you see in every cartoon.
Like, it's why it's so weird that Mandy sort of acts like Starfire isn't a good parent or isn't a good mother. Because
yeah, go on.
Because she can't, because she keeps stonewalling her, and because she refuses to engage with her at all. Well, but from a story perspective, the conflict falls flat because Starfire doesn't know about the conflict, and the logical antagonist for this sort of story conflict would be the fact that Starfire finds out within the first few pages that Mandy walked out of the SAT. She doesn't want to go to college. She yelled at her guidance counselor, or that she wasn't going to college.
It's a pretty big thing.
That's a big decision, and any parent would want to sit down with the kid and be like, okay, why? okay, do you have another plan? Da 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 da. But because Starfire isn't antagonistic towards Mandy, she's not an obstacle for Mandy to overcome in that
Mhm.
version of where she questions why Mandy doesn't want to make that decision. And the conflict itself is flat. There's nothing there.
It's like she's beyond a side character.
Yes, exactly. Where
As if Starfire is not an actual part of the story. And that's how you make it sound like. I mean, I haven't read the previous pages.
I mean,
But that's what you make it sound like.
she is a side character when she's, I think, she's in quite a few pages, but always as something in the background. She either informs Mandy's backstory or
like a
like a flashback.
no, how do you say that? We
A plot
German
device.
we say a Pappkamerad, which is the you know, when in the cinema you have these paper mache
A prop?
things of a prop of the actors to
Yes.
show, to advertise the movie to you. Like that's what she's a prop.
Yes, Starfire is very much treated as a prop. She's not.
It's like, by the way, the story has something to do with Starfire. Here's Starfire
Yes.
in the background.
Yes. And the few times she's actually actively interacted with Mandy, it's been all sort of very cliched teenage, like Disney Channel arguments, like, hey, I want to help you do this thing. Here's this thing. And, well, no, Mom, I'm gonna go lock myself in my room now. Oh, and we can have a conversation through the door.
Yeah, but that's something you solve within an episode. Even in the Disney cartoon, yeah.
Exactly.
And this is where I exclaimed a couple of minutes ago. One of the key elements that you find with borderline personality disorder is massive jealousy. And this character, you can interpret all her actions and the way she tries to now be the opposite. She uglifies herself, which is what borderliners often do, while at the same time thinking they're making themselves beautiful. That is also an consistent thing that happens. Then they don't all think that. But this seems to be present here because she doesn't seem to take issue with that she makes herself look atrocious. It's like she wants to, and she does this out of spite towards Starfire. This is jealousy. This is pure jealousy of Starfire being pretty and getting attention. And she herself, for some magical reason, is a fat kid.
There's
and
also
as I said, the fatness of borderliners.
Powers as well.
Yeah, okay, it comes on top. And the fatness of borderliners is usually a product not of some health issue, some physical health issue, but a product of overindulgence. Like they have no self-restraint. That's why they can't stop eating, because it's a coping mechanism. They're not fat by genetics. That is simply not the case. And so that this kid would be fat by design as a kid of Starfire is simply nonsense. It doesn't make sense. As far as I know, Starfire's people, they are all quite attractive from what I remember as a kid from the few episodes of the cartoon I saw. It didn't run that much in Germany as it did in. We didn't have Cartoon Network, for example. We did have access to the original Cartoon Network for a while, but it got paywalled at some point, and I was only watching the original Looney Tunes on it, and then eventually it was just the encoded screen, and you could only hear the sound. So yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for having me over to your pad. I like it.
Oh,
Thanks.
very manga-esque right there with the dots.
Yeah, but that's a very weird dialogue choice. A lot of the dialogue is weird in this place, in this
Yeah.
novel.
I noticed her head shape is changing. Sometimes she has a bit more skull over her eyebrows, and sometimes it's really flat.
Mhm. Thanks. What? So we like fist bump here, or
This is silly.
night? Night. See you at school.
So this is a completely natural thing. There's nothing romantic about this, because girls are simply more affectionate especially when they're young, with each
True.
other. That's
Mhm.
nothing to overinterpret.
Mhm.
A borderliner will overinterpret this, but only if she wants something.
Well, she wants Claire to be her girlfriend, so.
Oh my god, she looks even more horrible without makeup.
Yeah.
What even this is a thing I've seen a lot of the time. A lot of them do have the shaved and then drawn on eyebrows,
Hmm.
and then in weird colors as well, matching hair colors, for example.
Drawn on eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
You shave it just to draw on it.
Yeah, they shave them
Yeah.
off completely and then draw in some weird comic-esque shape.
That's so fucking weird.
Mhm.
Good lord.
It's like they want to look like caricatures.
Hey.
Uh,
Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Hanging with
Hey,
Paul and John?
I'm Lincoln, remember?
Go for it.
Hanging with Paul and John. Was Claire at your house yesterday?
Why?
You should look at her social media.
It's not like she said.
Is that a Y or a yes?
No, she just said why. She basically said why instead of texting him like why.
Okay.
It's not like she said. It's not like she didn't care about and stuff, the superhero stuff. I just assumed she didn't. Okay, thank you. I was about to be really upset because, like, Claire at no point said she wasn't didn't like superheroes or didn't care. But so what?
Her other friends are the Teen Titans.
No. So her other friends are like go to school with Mandy and Lincoln, but Mandy really just hates when people Mandy uh sort of understandably, and this is probably one of the more understandable things, is she doesn't let people in at all because most of them just want to get close to her for her mom or her mom's friends.
That's understandable.
So this is
That's the pop star problem.
Yeah, so she would view this as sort of a betrayal. Well, so this is one of the first understandable character or reactions that Mandy has ever had. It still upsets me that Beast Boy has only been drawn in a human form once.
Yeah, he's just randomly an animal in each shot.
It sounds like a drawn out joke.
Mm.
How was your weekend?
Sucked.
So, I mean, some people just take selfies all the time. You just gotta feed the social media beast, right?
I know.
It's just maybe she didn't know.
Hey,
Hang in there.
I said, hey, and hi. Hey, what are you up to? Nothing. Okay, well, that's clearly a lie. Hey, look, if there's something up your butt, you should just say it. What?
Yeah, but that is true. She's passive aggressive as hell,
She
and
is.
this is this is also her jealousy.
I was reacting more to like what Claire is saying. Like, why would you? Yes, it is believable that you would say like something along that line, but never that awkwardly. That's not how people speak. Like,
Yeah,
and I
it's a
don't
very what's the word?
clunky.
Yeah, also I don't know the English word. A dirty thing to say. That's not when you're the nice character. You don't tend to be that brash about it.
Yeah.
If there's something irking you or something, you would say
Yeah.
maybe. The something up your butt is that's more what the borderliner would say.
Mm-hmm.
And since a borderliner is writing this, and that is in conjunction with a narcissism thing, is
We can expect characters to have that sort of dialogue on
all
occasion.
all throughout, because the key feature of narcissism is that they don't have empathy, and for empathy, you require empathy in order to see the world from another character's perspective or another person's perspective, or an animal's perspective in hunting. And so in order to write a story with several characters, you require empathy, because you're writing different characters that have different personality traits and compositions and see the world differently, have different worldviews. But the narcissist, and in this case borderliner, will write everything or everyone almost the same. There will be some restrictions, like probably between between Mandy and the guy. But in general, we will see a lot of spill between characters acting very similarly in how we would expect only Mandy to act or speak. That's what that would be my guess.
Mhm.
Also, you can correct me if that is a wrong guess for the previous 80 pages.
I would actually have to go back and read them, something I don't really care to do, but I that's definitely something we can keep a lookout for the future. I know there's almost no difference between Mandy and Lincoln. They
really?
might as well be the same character.
That's what I mean.
I mean, I guess
Um,
Lincoln's the more optimistic one.
and that's why when people go into a lot of stress, by the way, we, and that's true for every human being, we revert to a narcissistic baseline. That doesn't mean we have the disorder, the personality disorder, because that is a 24/7 thing. That's people who have never grown beyond that. But when we are under immense stress, we fall into that because these are the basic behaviors necessary for survival. But they're not very good in a grown-up society with mature people who can rationally interact with each other. The problem is when an author is under immense stress, for example, that author can lose the knack for writing well, and that is when the same thing happens, and every character becomes essentially just because you need more cognitive power in order to process empathy. Like the faculty is on vacation during that time. Then every character just becomes a megaphone for your opinion and worldview. And I've seen this with a couple webcomic authors in the past, sadly, that when their lives got into turmoil, their writing turned into this temporarily for that time. Currently, a friend of mine is going through exactly that, and now that this has happened to her comic, and it's like all the characters just turned into the main character or extensions of the main character instead of being friends and antagonists. No, they all talk the same. They all have the same ideology, if you will. If we go really extreme,
They're all written very monotone, so they don't have unique character voices. It's all the same.
This could also explain why Starfire is not really antagonistic towards her, because the borderliner can't deal with conflict.
True.
So Starfire naturally becomes a passive character so that Mandy can have her way.
But also, I think the author understands that if she writes Starfire with, like, if she changes too much about the character of Starfire, it would cause more backlash than the book has already received. So Starfire, by necessity, has to have as few scenes as possible and not be an active player within the plot.
I'd rather say if she was an active player in the plot, like as she should be in the first few pages of the problem, the comic couldn't happen.
Very true.
Because Starfire would have resolved the issue with her child. Because that's who she is.
All right.
And this is the thing with fan fiction written by people with personality disorders. Makes no sense. It can't make sense.
My butt. Rather. How about you took a picture at my house and posted it online? What? Didn't you? What's wrong with that? Guess. Hey, like you're so special, I can't take a picture at your house? I'm wondering where we can point out that Mandy is absolutely the one wrong in this scenario.
It also looks like what was her name?
Claire.
It looks like Claire is guilty. Like she feels guilty about having done this innocuous thing, which doesn't really make sense. Because this makes her look like she did it to exploit Mandy, which would justify her. And my God, does she look like an ugly Hulk monster villain? Like, what's with that arm? That's how you draw a leg. That's a leg. It's not an arm. That is a leg.
There's no like elbow.
That's a kneecap up there.
Yeah.
This is a leg. My God. Like, even her hand looks a bit like a foot. God.
You're kind of being a dick about this. You should be used to it by now. Your life is full of dicks. I'm an idiot.
Good God, the art.
It was so obvious. Why didn't I see it? Why does someone like Claire want to hang out with someone like me? Unless it's because of some bullshit superhero thing.
Bring.
15 new messages, Claire. She doesn't.
And apparently the janitor doesn't lock the door.
Apparently.
Doesn't what? What is this? What is this writing?
I'm guessing it was a continuation of this this narration.
Oh God. You know what okay. There is a thing in writing that you do not do, and that is putting that's important for books. For I don't know what the English term is. The German would be Satz, which is also the sentence. But when you sort the text of a book for printing, you make sure that each paragraph ends on the same page, so that you don't have spillover unless it's at least a couple lines. But when it's just one line of your paragraph that spills over to the next page. Yeah.
I don't know.
And there's a name for that. There is a name for that.
I don't know what we call it over here.
we call it the German. We have all sorts of terms for this thing. The German term for putting the last line of your paragraph, and because it's context, and this is context, this would be such a line in theory. The name for that is Hurensohn, which means son of a whore. And this author deliberately puts a son of a whore on the next page. Like, you don't do that, because this destroys your
Like if I put the book down and then picked it up, turned to this page, this first line would be like, wait, what? And then I have to go back and reread.
Yeah, and this exactly, and this is what's just happened to me, because I'm used to having all the context of one page on one page. That's how you letter your. I think that's it. That's how you letter your stuff, how you sort your stuff, and she can't even do that.
And this little panel here doesn't need to be here. You could cut
you could put that over there
panel and put it here.
Yeah, she put it there because Mandy is looking at her phone on that panel. But anyway, you could still put the line on the previous page.
Also true.
It's very rare where you can do this in an artistic manner, the son of a whore. And that is usually done for comedic reasons.
Mm-hmm.
There's a German author, Walter Mörs. Maybe his books have been translated. His famous one are the stories of Captain Bluebeard, which is a children's story about a blue bear who's a captain, which are all tall tales of nonsense that all turn out to be true. And another one is the City of the Dreaming Books, which is about a city that is just a giant library that is so big that the entire city is layer of library built atop each other, and they have archaeological digs into the ancient underground to find old books. It's quite nice. And in that, because it is a story about books, and the main character in the book is himself an author, the whole book is full of. So it's a nice read for children, and if you know language, if you know grammar and how to make books and what to be careful about, he is deliberately breaking those rules in there to make jokes that you can only catch up on if you know these things. But that's the special jokes for the people with special knowledge. They're not. The book is not worse just because you don't know these things, but it gets immensely better if you do. So that's where you can do that deliberately. Like he's writing a rant or an explanation from the author for 2 pages. It's a double page, and it's just an explanation of the main character in the book, like his stream of thoughts. Then you turn the page, and it starts with "but." The first thing is "but." So you just read 2 pages, and then he invalidates everything he just said. And starting a sentence with "but" is also a no-go. And starting your whole page with "but" is an even bigger no-go. But that's how you do these things right. What this author here does is just pathetic.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's keep going. Lincoln.
Oh.
Where you at?
Hold on. I'm just reading ahead. Give me like 5 more seconds. Okay.
Slide
Hey,
91.
you skipped like olive school. You know the French have a saying about women.
Too soon.
Got it.
This is not funny.
No, it's not. It feels like it's trying to bring the tone up a little bit, but it doesn't succeed because Lincoln is not a very interesting character.
Yeah, my God, her undercut is disgusting.
Yeah.
You don't do that in the back, do you? I've never seen that.
I've never seen it either. I thought it was always to the side.
Yeah. Or you do it all around for this I don't know what you call these kinds of haircuts. But not this and not this deep. Like she wouldn't have enough hair to do her braids.
Mm-mm. Like, unless she just let the top grow out completely. Or if it's just right there. Which would be even weirder. Like, if this whole thing with Claire being every other person I've met is a surprise to me, I'm an idiot. Right? Because of course, at least my mom is often another part of the universe saving people so I can spend the night eating macaroni and chocolate sauce in bed.
Ew.
That's a really gross
Agreed.
combination.
And no wonder she's fat. I mean, I'm serious. This is the problem with these people.
Yeah.
Like you're not fat because of some genetic thing.
You're fat
You're fat
you
because
eat-
your eating is just shit. And it's all coping. Like this here, what she's here saying. This is coping food. My God.
Oh, Mom, I thought you were on a mission. I was supposed to be in the Sector 8 of the Damascus system. Then I got a call from the guidance counselor at your school.
In the Damascus system?
I don't know. But that's some impressive cell phone coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Intergalactic almost.
Mm.
Also, this is another...
Intragalactic.
Yeah.
I guess
also,
she stayed behind on Earth because of the call.
But man, this is not how I imagine Starfire ever looking, even when she's angry. Her eyebrows are all wrong. This is not Starfire's eyebrows. This isn't
Also-
Starfire. This is really not Starfire. As
mhm.
the Starfire isn't Starfire.
Also, like, let's talk about the fact that Starfire, as a mother, and this is like sort of this thing the author's been trying to push, that Starfire isn't really that good a mother. She came home from saving other people's lives from she understood that the Teen Titans could handle something without her, and came home to deal with an issue with her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, it's a disciplinary issue. So she seems like the bad guy, but in reality,
She puts her family first.
yes, exactly. She's concerned about her daughter, so she puts something on the back burner. That's not what bad parents do. Bad parents don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, she said you walked out of the SAT. She said you walked out of the SAT. I heard you. I'm not taking my SAT because I'm not going to college. No. What? I mean, to say yes, you are going to college. Why?
Ugh.
Like, why is Starfire drawn so ugly? I
This is
haven't
ugly and dumb.
I haven't commented on her looks thus far because she's looked passable, but I think from this point onward she just looks awful. Because it is what your kids your age do. You go to school, then you go to another school. You didn't. You didn't. In my time, I studied and trained. It is not life and death for you. You are not. You are lucky it is not. But that does not mean you. Excuse me. You do not have the duty to be the best you can be. You will take the test again. You will take the test again. No, I won't. So, okay. So I'm gonna do a thing. So this should have happened about what page are we on?
A couple dozen back.
90, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 probably. So we are on page 95. This should have happened on at least page 14, 15. That should have been where it was. Because what we got then was some paper thin conflict. What we have now is actual conflict that can be, there's a conflict and it can be resolved. How it will be
Mhm.
resolved is irrelevant. This should have happened so much earlier in this book.
Mm-hmm. But then that none of the dribble could have happened.
Also true. She has no idea, and I'm sick of it. No more tests, no more trying. Well, there's another character flaw. I'm done. Hey,
Oh
Link.
my god. She throws her toothbrush blanket in her bag. She doesn't have an extra bag for her hygiene products. You know what happens to a toothbrush if you just throw it in your travel bag?
It molds.
At the very least, yeah. It's full of all the dust and little hairs and whatever else residue is in there. And we have in Germany, we have this extra hygiene bag. We have
Yeah, we have
call
them
it
here too.
yeah. We have a name for that. It's the Kulturbeutel, the culture bag. Because if you don't have this, you have no culture.
Culture bag.
You know, I have to agree that's probably a better name than it. We call it a toiletry bag, and
Okay.
I don't know the etymology for that one.
And the odd thing is, while she takes so much effort to make herself look like this, to uglify herself, which takes effort. This hairdo and all this makeup, this takes effort. Yet she throws her hygiene products just in the bag. This is disgusting. This doesn't make sense.
I think it's supposed to illustrate how quickly,
Even then,
how she just wants out. How rash this decision is. But the problem is, Mandy has proven to be someone who has shown to be, when it comes to her mother, very intentional on being the opposite. And in order to maintain that, she would want to take all the stuff that goes into making her look the way
I'm
she
sorry.
does.
This is extremely nonsensical. I mean, maybe it works like that for a borderliner, but I'll be open here. I ran away from home and I took a couple hours to put my stuff together. Like I had a time to put the toothbrush into the culture bag and put the culture bag into the bag. Like there's no way you can do this so rushed that you don't have time for that, because that's an action of a second. It's just ugh.
Mandy, I just want to talk. Mandy? By the way, how you can tell Mandy is crazy? She has a cockatoo. Look,
Yeah.
I know there are stable people out there who have cockatoos and they're cool, but to me a cockatoo means that's a crazy bird for crazy people.
If you have these, you need at least two. Otherwise, it's animal abuse.
Hmm.
They tend to only, almost all the time, they only learn to speak human words because they are deprived of company. It's a coping mechanism for them.
Hmm.
So if you have 2 or more of them, they're almost unlikely to learn human words.
Interesting.
Link, I need to stay at your place. Triple ice, triple cream, triple shot, chai with cocoa and mint shot. Wow.
Yeah, more coping food. This, you wonder why you're fat? I doubt
me.
she was this fat in the first panels. We see childhood pictures of her. I doubt she could have been that fat. That Starfire would have fed her this bullshit.
She was a little big.
Are you home?
And now she's wearing her clown dress again.
Mom knows about the test. I'm sure you'd be pleased it didn't go well. I should have told her, but I didn't want to deal with her being disappointed.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised her phone still works.
Yeah, I agree.
These
With that
like-
giant crack in the screen?
Yeah, especially on the lower right. It's very unlikely to still register. Or it's
Mhm.
just gonna spasm around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, similar thing happened to my old laptop.
It would drive me crazy to use this.
Yeah, it's okay. Just these types of people, like, what is their obsession with coffee houses?
I don't know.
That's a rich people thing.
Hmm.
'Cause you can't afford these places on the regular or just for the fun of it if you don't have money. And if you run away from home, this is not the place you go. And this
Mm-mm.
is not the type of food you get. And this
Also,
is a
how-
spoiled real life incapable idiot brat. And
how late is it? What coffee shop is
I have
this?
you skipped. Oh no! I'm still on the last page. I'm just stuck on the first panel of the previous page. Like, she looks like an insane hobo in that.
She does just a little
Just-
bit.
She is
just
an
let
insane
this-
hobo now.
Just let this image sink in.
Okay, Claire's texting her, which I think is meant to be Starfire, but it's Claire's picture.
Yeah. Well, that's on the phone.
Yeah, but why would? I guess
Claire has been trying to get to talk to her for a while.
yeah.
But Mandy didn't read her messages, so why should she see this one now?
Also, very true. Ooh, and we know she doesn't have like the setting active on her phone where you can read their you can read the messages on the home screen.
Yeah, we can where you
There was
see at
15
least the
messages
last
from-
line that's been written.
Yeah, because you could see the messages that 15 new messages from Claire or was on the screen
Mm-hmm.
in that earlier panel. All right, and then Starfire's in the window. Why is she wearing a coat? Like,
To look more glamorous,
I
to be more
guess.
noticeable. I don't know. It's not like she needs that.
I guess it's cold at night.
She's flying through space.
But this brings up another point I have. Like, what coffee shop is this? How late is it?
What place is this? Is this in the city? Is this suburbia?
I would guess suburbia.
You don't
Rather
have.
upscale suburbia too. I'm guessing Mandy would have to go to a private school given, who her parent is.
Do you have 24/7 shops in suburbia? Anything?
Some, but like the biggest coffee house and like coffee houses aren't that like low scale sort of small business coffee houses aren't that common here, except in places like New York and I think that's it.
This must be
But
a super special area to be lucrative,
yeah,
to keep open for that long.
but the biggest like coffee place we have here, at least in Texas, is Starbucks, and I know that closed at like 5. They're
What?
not open this late.
5?
Mm,
Wow.
let me check. Hold on. I have the
People
power
are
of
still
Google.
working at that hour. 5. Wow.
Okay, well, I just googled my nearest Starbucks, and most of them one starts from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Another one from 5 to 9. Another one 5:30 to 8. So I guess
So she's probably like one of the last people there.
Yeah,
Okay,
so,
the one in my town, it is from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
so let's say like maybe it's like 7 to 9ish.
I guess it's hard to tell because I think earlier we were at school. So they were at school, and then dark clouds, and then
Yeah.
suddenly it's nighttime.
Yeah, I mean, it can depend on the season, but this would mean it's winter
Yeah.
because this is the depth of night. With that, there are stars out.
Mm-hmm. Like there would.
Which is not something you'd see in suburbia.
Mm-hmm. Which would make even less sense that the shop is open and is frequented. Because in rural places, there's not much going on.
Is that Starfire? Wow, she goes to my dry cleaner. I was told she was. I was told you. I
I
told you
told
she
you
was
she was
still
hot.
hot. Okay, so these people
These
live in
people
the
don't watch the
neighborhood.
news, and they don't watch the news.
Like it's like Starfire has to be not. Oh my gosh, it's amazing to see her. She. If this is a local coffee shop, she's probably been there at least a few times.
Yeah.
The staff, if not the staff, if not the more frequent flyers, which would have to be at this point in the night, because who's getting coffee at 8 p.m.
You
would
know,
have to be used to her presence.
when a celebrity lives in your neighborhood, you tend to get used to them as normal people.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a realistic thing to happen, if you ask me. Especially with the I told you she was still hot. Like we've been shown she is still in celebrity mode and she's on TV. You could easily know. It could be hard to avoid even. Situation, dialogue makes no sense.
At least we're almost at the actual conflict of this comic. Almost.
Oh, we've reached the point of conflict. This is what's about to come up is the secondary conflict.
Now she keeps avoiding, like,
Mm-hmm.
actively walking past.
Just because
What?
you have. Go ahead.
Yeah, actively walking past while having enough time for this long line.
Yeah. Just because you have. I think it's like supposed to be sort of she's walking toward her and as she starts speaking and then walks past her. But it's sort of more page economical. Like it's what you were speaking about earlier. It would make more sense to have this bubble here instead of having it divided between 2 different panels where we see her walking.
Uh-huh. But the text, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. Just because you have super whatever so you can track me. my movements doesn't mean you should. Okay. You're her daughter. You should know what her powers are,
Mm-hmm.
and we know you know what her powers are because you mentioned them when the comic begins. So, what are you saying?
The author is an idiot. An absolute hack. She never knew anything about Starfire and she never bothered to learn.
I went to the first coffee shop near our house. That is not tracking.
And
That's
this
fair.
and this hits our previous points home even more. It makes no sense that these people react like that. Starfire would likely have been there before.
Mm-hmm. I am a professional tracker. If I did wish to track you, I could. Whatever. You cannot just run away. Watch me. Mandy, it was just a test. It's not the end of the world. Oh, and you would know? You didn't even have to get a driver's license. You can fly. I know what it means to face. Oh my god, don't give me a stupid superhero speech.
This is so entitled.
It is. It's very entitled.
I just realized she could have simply taken the SAT and then still not joined the thing.
True.
Like you can just expand your options. But
Also,
she avoided the test completely.
so one of the things also in this comic is that we don't know who Mandy's father is. We don't know who they are. And given, the sort of people Starfire hangs out with, i.e. Batman, Robin, and like Superboy, a Kid Flash, these are people that, like, mundane people who are super powered.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, Green Arrow, Black Canary, like, she knows these people. She knows who these people are. The fact that Mandy doesn't have any sort of Mandy, despite having no powers, isn't ever demonstrated to have some sort of self-defense training or anything like that. It bothers me because it means Starfire it's one of the things that you could argue Starfire is a bad mother for not allowing her daughter any sort of defense.
I doubt the writer even considered that.
Yeah, but I would
the
lay
writer,
that squarely at the feet of the writer.
and the writer doesn't understand superhero writing in the first place. Like Starfire is not someone with an alter ego, like a human disguise persona. Her family is the obvious target for every villain. That's the common thing. You want to hurt or control the hero, you capture the family.
Yeah,
I mentioned that in our first stream.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't she homeschooled? Why doesn't she have some form of security? Why isn't she fitter because she's constantly in sort of combat training to keep herself alive? Should a villain attack her?
Maybe because Starfire sees her as an atrocious failure that she hopes will die.
Now that
oh, you horrible villain! You captured my daughter. I will come to the rescue right after I go to the other end of the galaxy. Mm-hmm.
It is not the the stupid superhero speech. You do not know what it means to try and do something you can't do. Okay. What? Hold on. Why is she speaking like this again? All right. So I mentioned this earlier. Actually, I mentioned this last stream. When Mandy doesn't use contractions, and I know for some, like, contractions aren't great, but for me at least, they sound natural. They feel natural. But the reason Starfire inserts articles in front of words is because she doesn't understand, like, she doesn't fully understand human speech.
Also,
So she's an alien. It makes sense that she would speak, sort of have like like a weird way of speaking.
Also, Starfire is doing the tsundere pout.
But for Mandy, who primarily grew up on Earth, has no powers, and went to a normal school.
Oh no, I would contest that here. To call it the stupid superhero speech would mean that there is the trope of the stupid superhero speech. That there is the one type of it that is moralizing and or inspiring or anything. All the things you would associate with a stupid superhero speech. The thing that you know what it will sound like. Just like you know what the complaints and rants of a certain type of ideologue will be.
If this was just if that was the only dialogue, I would agree with you, Wisp. But the way Mandy couches it is A, so which implies that it's not. Which implies that, at least to her, it's not sort of a like singular speech. It's sort of like the generic pep talk.
And I just noticed the
kind of thing.
her coffee plastic thing. It's really just a doodle.
It is.
In the last panel of the previous page, you can see it's not even properly finished. Like it just ends on this open line at the top. God, this is so horrible. How could Smut like this? Visually.
I don't know. I don't know how anyone could look at this and say, this is really good art. This is worthy of being, like, praised. This is at best. This
is at best. This is a level above storyboarding.
With the most charitable interpretation, you could say the art is passable. And I mean,
it's not. It doesn't look like a finished product.
Yeah, it really should have hired a background artist.
You are still young, but soon you will be a grown up. I wish. Oh, please. You don't know what it's like to be your kid, Mandy. I can't do anything. I'm sick of trying and not taking that stupid effing test.
Okay, this is and here it comes out in her first speech bubble already. I think this is the true reason why she skipped the SAT. It's not because she wants to go to France. It's because she's afraid of failing the test.
Yeah.
Which is a common thing for these types of people. They're so afraid of conflict, they will not engage in anything because they might be shown that they're not perfect. Even when Mandy seems to be aware that she doesn't have certain powers, but she is afraid of the reality check proving it to her, and that she even fails on normal things or doesn't get very far. And Starfire's dialogue here is just devoid of anything. It just serves as a catalyst, not even a catalyst, just something where Mandy can roll her ranting off on. Like Starfire speech bubbles could as well not be here.
Mandy, please come here now. No, I'm going to Lincoln's. Go home, mother. Too late.
So who should do the voice
Starfire
of
has no arguments. She says nothing. There's no appeal to emotion. There is no rational argument. There's no empathy.
Well, I think the whole point of these last two panels is to build. So Mandy's at this gas station, presumably across the street, and the backgrounds here are supposed to build tension, but what would be better if we got sort of Starfire reacting to these things. Like Starfire sort of eyes going up instead of like Starfire reacting to the lights popping out instead the lights popping and going out instead of just
The implication is that the lights are popping because Mandy is angry because her powers are manifesting. That would be the natural interpretation here.
exactly.
Is that what's happening?
No.
Nope, the Tamaranians have shown up.
Oh god, this is such a bad setup.
Yeah, the closest thing we get is just Starfire looking up, just like one single panel.
Like
could've
Starfire
had
is
just-
looking up.
Could have like one little like a what do you call it, the text, not text bubble, not thought bubble, the square.
A reaction?
No, that little the square that has like the person's inner monologue.
And there. Well, the problem with doing that would be this entire story is told from Mandy's perspective, so suddenly having Starfire break in with her own internal monologue would be very jarring. But like the implication here is that this is Mandy doing this.
It's just Mandy
But-
rambling. Oh, did you mean the popping lights?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The popping lights and the sort of flickering and everything. And that implies that Mandy is manifesting some form of power,
Mm-hmm.
but then Blackfire shows up and the implication is that she was doing it. And suddenly it seems like it was just tension building for her reveal.
And this is misleading and badly written, and it's not the kind of good mislead that would be a subversion. It's just badly written, because it's not even that obvious, even though there's these pop sounds written on the panel. And this panel, the way Mandy looks up is like towards some divine savior. The way the light hits her face and how her eyes are glazed so hard.
Like, and the way Blackfire is drawn as well, like she has a halo. She literally has a halo above her.
So who should do the voice for Blackfire?
You don't even have one for Starfire. The rest of the cast is missing.
I'm enough voice for everyone.
Fine.
I'm still free.
Blackfire. Oh, I guess yeah, sure. Wisp, you can do Blackfire. Got a good voice.
Daughter of Starfire, meet your fate. But what? How? Why does it immediately start like this? This is nonsense.
Okay, so we have sort of the divine descending from on high. That's the implication in this panel. Well, which honestly is probably the best piece of art in this entire, like this cut away, like this one piece cut away. Blackfire with the halo behind her descending from on high. Hey, like that's a really good piece. And then this happens. And it's just wait,
and
what?
she's immediately physical, and Starfire is just paralyzed, standing there like a dumb soccer mom. I don't know.
Yeah, like Starfire isn't strong or isn't powerful, which would make sense if, Starfire wasn't still active, an active superhero, or had lost her powers somehow.
She looks like disheveled with her bad hair. Like Starfire is constantly having a bad hair day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the author instructed to draw her like this. Like she has a real hate for the attractive character. Anyway, no escaping now.
Blackfire, sister, please. What is this?
It is time for you to battle for your place on my throne, little thing. That sentence doesn't make sense. It is time for you to face the conflict your mother fled. It's time
But-
for you to battle for your place on my throne? Huh?
What?
That is okay. I can deduce what this is supposed to mean. Like you have to fight. So she has the throne, and then people have to fight for the succession.
Okay.
But this is a really bad sentence.
It's a very awkward sentence. It's intent. Like, it feels like the author was like, okay, so I just revealed Blackfire was here, or and I need her to be here for a purpose. So let's have her be like, oh, it's time for like, oh, the rite of passage. Oh, it's a rite of passage. She needs to battle for the throne because Blackfire needs to prove she's worthy of holding the Tamaranian throne still. Well, for some reason. So I need to get that passed with like these two lines of dialogue.
Yeah, instead you wasted 80 pages with bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Where you had so much space for exposition.
Yeah. Instead of having the college conflict sort of resolve the college conflict on page 15, the reveal of Blackfire on like page 20, and then Mandy facing down Blackfire and losing, and then Starfire coming out and being like, do you want to, like, instead of sort of having that reality check and then going back and being like, I need to be better. I need to be able to not only defend myself, but very clearly, like, there are people that are going to come after me. So I need to be able to defend those around me as well. Sort of her own journey into being a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's sort of the logical place for this story to go. Oh, Mandy grows and changes as a person because she's faced with an overwhelming situation. But instead, we're on page, I believe it's like 98 or 99, which means there are, I think the total page count is 184.
Oh my god.
Minus the front cover and the back two crediting page. Minus the two crediting pages in the front and the two crediting pages in the back.
This is a big book.
Yeah, it is. It's a very long book, but it doesn't start like over half of it is just like flat conflict with exposition and establishing a go nowhere romance. Like this is bad fan fiction.
Yes.
Like this is how bad fan fictions go.
That's all the social justice writers write. If you look at it all, that's all the self-insert stuff. All of it is, and you will find at least a narcissistic personality disorder with all of them, which is why they cannot write characters and why they write their self-inserts like villains most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because
It's
they
also
have
why
no,
they
they do
identify
not
with
understand
villains more often
boundaries
than
between
not.
people. I'm sorry.
It's why I'm guessing that's why they identify with villains as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because they feel justified in doing everything they do. Their moral system is it's okay when I do it because I have justification,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel wronged, or I deserve this for no reason, because except for except for being you. All right, text.
My child is no threat to you. She does not wish to interfere with your reign.
You abandoned the throne when you fled Tamaran, but any heir of yours has claim. While it is clear these responsibilities meant nothing to you, the truth remains. As long as your spawn breathes, my rule is in peril. Your daughter will battle.
What is happening?
This is stupid.
That's a good question. But further, why is Blackfire here? So, number one, how did she find out Starfire had a daughter? That's an important question.
Well,
I
she had
suppose through
she had 15 years time to find that out.
Yeah, 16. No, 15. She's 15 in this. As I think her 16th birthday is later on in the comic. But
Well, 15 and already this fucked up.
Yeah. So there's that, but still, why does Blackfire care? Like,
I guess it's
Question.
some kind of traditional thing, I guess.
Question. I'm not familiar with the Starfire comics. Is Blackfire a real character, or was she made up for this one?
no, Blackfire is a real character. She's Starfire's sister.
Okay.
I know she's at least in the cartoon. I think she's in the regular comics too.
She's
Okay.
one of her, she's one of her primary villains. But why would Blackfire, who's on the Tamaranian throne, I guess, in this comic, come to Earth, which is out of her way, to find her sister's daughter and challenge her for the throne that is already hers, that she doesn't need to bother with.
She's in the comics.
Like this feels like paper thin effort for an action scene. My daughter is not. She is not a warrior. She has only known the ways of Earth. This world, she has no powers there's to challenge you with.
Then it will be a quick death.
Mom? At least take me with her so that I can explain, so that she can know. If you will do that, I will surrender myself to you.
Very well, sister, as you wish. You will wait here while I prepare for battle. Say your goodbyes. Starfire here looks like a drug-addicted whore.
She does.
And maybe that's why she got the code.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she got the code.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Starfire in the live action Titan series.
Like, she's the ugliest here she's looked in this entire book.
This is not how you draw Starfire. Not even remotely.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Also, I don't think Starfire in the comics has pupils. Like, her eyes are solid green.
Also, look at the... Here, her eyes are not bright colors. They're desaturated. If she looks sick, and you can't just explain that with the situation. Like, the bright eye color, the bright eyes are... That's a natural thing for her.
Mm-hmm. But more, like, I guess the author sort of justifies this scene by, like, Starfire not fighting in the scene because the sun isn't out, but then Blackfire wouldn't be so antagonistic. She would have come during the day when she was at full power. Like, the rules would apply to Blackfire as well.
Yeah. And is it with Starfire's power, is it just that her powers are out during the night, or is she does she work more like a battery like Superman?
No, she works more like a battery like Superman.
Then there should be no problems.
Yeah, so I guess the justification the author came up with in her own mind was that Starfire, her powers worked on sunlight, and then because the sun isn't out, she has no powers. She isn't at full strength, but then why would Blackfire be this aggro? Like, it doesn't make sense for her to approach like this and be this, like, aggressive when she knows her sister will probably attack her.
Yeah, and then Blackfire should be just as weakened.
Yeah. And then, and if it is some sort of Tamaranian traditional thing, then all of these people would be unlikely to interfere because it would be considered a challenge to Blackfire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they would be challenging for the throne. So Blackfire would most likely kill them. So this entire scene is done on paper thin justification for just, I guess, so Starfire can exposit?
Black Panther had a better written plot, and that was bad.
This kid at my school ran away last year to Vegas with his mom's credit card. Can't remember why. Of course, the credit card was how they caught him at the Excelsior Hotel, and the cops came and arrested him in the casino and everything. Busy News did News did a story about it. This is way worse, obviously, than that. And the Titans are at least 7 galaxies away from Earth. Right. Cool.
Galaxies. Huh. Guess this universe expanded.
This cell will hold.
Buzzy News is a hint to BuzzFeed, which I think is the
guess.
main news source of the author.
Probably. This cell will hold us until morning. Until then, it is late. Try to sleep. Really? Again?
Another son of a whore.
Yeah. Hey, holy crap. You're Mandy's best friend, right?
Not talking to you.
Wait. I can't find Mandy, okay? She wasn't in a homeroom this morning. She's not responding to my texts.
Why is he blushing?
That's... I'm guessing because of this?
I guess she's just...
Because she's touching his arm or what? Or because he's upset?
Probably because he's embarrassed she scared him.
Yeah, I guess
And this whole not talking to you makes no sense, because why would he have a quarrel with her? Or is he now jealous too of her because Mandy wanted to be friends with her? Or what is going on here?
she's not here. She...
No, child. No.
Is your cat giving you grief again?
And my cat was getting into something he shouldn't. Lacrosse! Go Knights!
I've never known anybody in this country to give a shit about lacrosse.
Depends on where you are.
In my high school, it's all about football.
Yeah,
Of course, my high school won state like what, 8 times?
I think so, yeah. More probably now, but I don't pay attention to that.
May I add that these kids are all unusually ugly?
They're background characters.
Yeah, but still, they're drawn in the same style to the same level of quality.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, the one character that is continuously drawn to a standard of quality that says at the very least attractive for a high schooler is Claire, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, I would agree.
And probably
Stands
because
out.
she's intended to be the romantic interest.
Yeah. Especially compared to Starfire, who's supposed to be an embodiment of beauty.
Mm-hmm. Lincoln. Caesar, you there?
Oh yeah. Sorry, is it my turn?
Yes.
Oh. Big game. I personally am psyched.
Is she okay?
This joke didn't land at all.
And you care because
What does that mean?
if you did care about Mandy and not her mom, you'd have some concept that taking a selfie with the super crew was maybe not the best way to let her know you like her.
This is so dumb. I mean,
What?
she tried to text her. She tried to contact her all the time.
Like, yeah, again, it's not Claire's actions are not that of someone who wants back into the circle for the Titans. She clearly wants back in for Mandy. Search me as to why, but that's the case. Like, it's very clear that Claire wants to be Mandy's friend. Thus, the multiple texts and calls she made when Mandy freaked out.
She wanted to clear up and understand the situation.
Yeah. And it's perfectly understandable that, Claire, who probably, while going to school with Mandy, understands who her mom is, would be wanting to, like, what's wrong with her wanting selfies with
Yeah,
the other Teen Titans? Like, there's nothing wrong with what she did.
Yeah, she's just going around and is open to and is open with people. Mandy is closing off and expecting everyone to understand her and complains that no one does. Like a borderliner tends to do. And we're supposed to side with Mandy, I suppose.
I guess. But none of Claire's actions to this point have indicated that she's using Mandy to get to her mother. Or to get, like, clout or anything like that.
And this is where we get into the realm of misinterpreting reality, jumping to conclusions, and personal slides, or perceived slides rather. This is a perceived slide. It's not a real slide. But Mandy is upset because of a perceived slide, and she's not allowing Claire to clear it up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is borderline behavior.
Take your seats. We have a ton of work to do before you can all watch the game. What? Nothing. Mandy, are you awake? I need to tell you something about who we are.
First off, the nasty reaction of the other girl makes no sense.
Yeah.
Claire is troubled and maybe sad, and the other girl makes a nasty what? It makes no sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. Okay, so
Just everyone is hostile.
it is 11:30, and we've gotten through quite a bit. I'm wondering if we should go ahead and call it here.
It's
I
up
know
to
I
you.
have to be up in the morning, and I know Wisp, you probably want to go back to bed.
No, I'm awake. Why should I go back to bed now?
Hmm.
It's the morning. I slept 5
True enough.
hours. That's more I don't get anyway. So was it 5?
Well,
Even?
you're the boss, Clayton. It's all you. It's all on you.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and call it here. But yeah, it gets, this book just gets worse and worse, and I like, this is the thing, like the way.
This wasn't the low point? Oh god.
I think the low point. I think no. I think this was the low point. I don't think it can get. From the beginning, this has gotten just steadily worse in terms of quality, both artwork and story.
I can, yeah. If you say that, I can imagine it's not just a rushed job. It's the artist didn't like working on this.
Probably.
The more this went on, because
Like
you have this writing in front of you, and you think, this makes no sense.
like this is supposed, the way this was marketed by DC, it was like this was the thing that was gonna sort of save the comic book industry. Be like, this is gonna draw in a whole new audience. This is gonna be the our thing that surpasses manga. And I'm just
What?
like,
This
what
is trash.
what planet do you live on?
It looks like trash. It reads like trash, and that is no insult to the artist. She had, as I said, this looks rushed. It looks like no interest in doing the job, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like with the instructions of writing of drawing certain characters deliberately ugly, that shouldn't be at all, ever. Like, how are we supposed to see the contrast between Mandy and Starfire if Starfire is drawn like a disheveled hoe? And well, we talked about the writing a couple times. You can't surpass anything, and the only audience you're really targeting here is girls with borderline personality disorder, and thankfully that is a very small minority of people with a mental disorder, a very dangerous mental disorder, by the way. And because you don't need a lot of them to wreak havoc and psychologically, emotionally harm a lot of people. Because before these people ever get to a clinic, they've caused massive damage to many people.
Yeah. Though they make up a small minority, they do make up the majority of people who write comics nowadays.
Yes. It's I'd say it's at the core of this whole social justice movement. Because that's you have to be deranged to believe in all of this contradictory, purely selfish, egotistical, almost maniacal nonsense that can only work in some magical fashion, and usually has the opposite effect of what it actually promises. They never have to feel the effects of their policies and politics. That's why they keep believing in them. But yeah, that's another topic. But
So we will hopefully
emotionally manipulative drivel. Sorry.
Yeah. No. So hopefully we'll be back next week. Maybe with more people. We'll see.
This is painful.
We may have Captain Commander Dunn on back with us next week, and hopefully Cedar Cheese. I know she skipped out on us a couple weeks in a row. Well,
But to be fair, she had things to think.
Yeah, she had
things to do.
stuff to take care of, so we don't. I don't want to mean like, oh, she flaked out on us just after she said she would show up. Now she just.
Oh, looking at the actual
Life
content,
got
I
in the
could
way.
understand why.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And we will see you all next week.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.